Welcome to the High Ground Podcast. I'm Stevie W.
And Callum, we are back.
We are, and we've been thinking, there's the fan culture at the moment. It's getting toxic. It's been more toxic than it's ever been. Where your opinion's wrong, our opinion's right, and we're really sick of this kind of thing. So we've picked a film that one of our favourite films. I just want to point out, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
And it's not only one of the greatest films ever made, in our opinion. It's one of the defining sequels.
Yeah.
It's I grew up on this film, and we're just thinking, had Empire Strikes Back been released today, off the back of what the mammoth, groundbreaking Star Wars, A New Hope as it is now, but Star Wars as it was at the time, how would have Empire have been received by? But I'm not gonna say the majority, because I think the majority opinion would have been this. Been what it is, and it would have been seen as this great body of work, a piece of work. But we don't really these days get to hear what the majority think, because the keyboard warriors seem to be basement dwellers. Sorry, I've got to keep adding that one in. They seem to think their opinion's right, and they're the ones that dumb opinions seem to be listened to more than anybody else's,
or reported on more as well. To be honest, it's already been released, hasn't it? I mean, The Last Jedi was basically, in my mind, that's how it would have went. Oh, it's too dark, it's too different. I don't like that. Why is Darth Vader his dad? That's rubbish.
Yeah.
Do it again, better next time.
I mean, that's the thing. When I walked out, you'd saying about Last Jedi. I remember sitting in the cinema, and the scene where Princess Leia, General Leia, gets thrown out of the starship.
Oh God, yeah.
And I was like thinking, wow, that's how they've sorted episodes 9's problem out.
Like they lied, they did kill her, kind of thing.
Yeah. And when she did what the morons calling the Mary Poppins, and she comes back into the ship, to me that was like, I was a sigh of relief that they kept how it should have been, and killing off Luke Skywalker at the end, which keeping him alive would have made more sense because of what happened. Even it would have been minimum reshoots.
Yeah.
But they kept to the vision, and I've got to admit it was Rian Johnson's work on that made me go and see Knives Out.
Yeah.
Because I loved 8 so much.
And Looper's great as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, I never really, no part of me, because I remember going to see it again and again, like multiple times.
Yeah.
And with other people and that, and like I would hear people laughing, like as if like, oh, that's stupid, when that bit happened. And like I remember when we went to see it, it was like sort of deathly quiet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I was really sort of shocked that they'd done that at the time, and then when it was actually kind of like a false, it was like a false scare, wasn't it? And the relief sort of comes out of it, but it just felt really annoying that people thought it was funny, and it made me want to walk out in the sense of like, I don't want to be around these people rather than this film's rubbish kind of thing. And we were always a champion of Episode 8, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it does have its flaws and faults. It's not perfect. That's not what we're saying.
Well, I was going to reckon we actually we have a major disagreement, because and that's Canto Bight.
Yeah.
And you don't like it.
No, I think it stifles the pace of the film. But I do see where you're coming from. That the film did need a
that
bit of a
relief.
lifting up after that. Yeah.
And
Admiral Holdo, I think, is quite a pointless character. But after saying that, I wouldn't cite that as the reasons for it being awful or rubbish or whatever. I think most people just didn't like it because it did different things, like The Empire Strikes Back did. Where they had Act 3 and Act 1. The battle at the start instead of the end. I never noticed that till you pointed out. Actually.
Oh, I stole that from somewhere. I'm going to admit it. I can't say that. I know.
But it's just, like doing the things like Snoke not being important.
Yeah.
Like there's no backstory. He's just killed off.
And Rey's parents.
They're no one.
Red herring.
It
is kind of the red herring.
Well, yeah,
now.
it did. Yeah, but I mean, I get the sense that it was originally supposed to be they were no one.
Yeah.
And I was really on board with that.
Same here.
I mean, I did kind of in episode 9, like we say, because it was the whole thing was a fun experience.
Yeah.
We were kind of like, oh, we don't care that Palpatine's back. We don't care that Kylo's a good guy again, because we always maintained he shouldn't be.
Yeah, we were. I mean, we were not. We were not spewing our BS over the internet over it, but we were adamant right until it happened in the cinema that Kylo should not have a redemption arc.
No, because you can't kill Han Solo, can you?
No. And I remember, afterwards we were like, yeah, it made sense.
It kind of worked. Yeah. I mean, again, 9 wasn't without its faults either, but then there are certain points in the original trilogy where you can find faults if you really, really want to look, and it's mostly with Return of the Jedi rather than the other two. I mean, we've tried ourselves doing it with A New Hope, even being as petty as possible, and it's nearly impossible, isn't it?
It's you have to be. I remember once I found something once. It was so irrelevant. It was so stupid that.
Is this excluding like continuity errors and stuff?
Continuity errors. They don't bother me. But I was just looking for something that I could actually pick up and go, this is not a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And I remember when it was the anniversary of Schindler's List, and because I've always maintained that is the greatest film ever made, in my opinion.
It's certainly one of the most important.
It is. And I watched it looking for faults, and not because I just want to get it through my head that I'm not being biased, because my opinion's been made up since 1993, that I might be wrong about something.
Yeah.
And when I watch Schindler's List, I can say I can't find it, and it's.
No, I mean, I sort of did the same after we went to see the anniversary version. I watched it again, and if you managed to watch it in 4K, anyone, it's incredible. Like, the print's so good on it. But it's same with A New Hope. I just couldn't. You try and be as petty as possible, don't you? And I've done it with Empire as well, and there's nothing. I can't even go, well, Yoda looks a bit dated, because he doesn't. He looks better than CG Yoda.
I mean, that's the thing that's the thing that got me about Empire Strikes about the Last Jedi, is Yoda was the replica.
Yeah.
It was from the same mold as the Empire Yoda, and when Yoda came on screen, I was like, that's Yoda.
Yeah.
And with Empire Strikes Back, and you mentioning Yoda from Empire, that is my being petty, looking for faults.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a puppet.
Yeah.
But nowadays, just going back to the subject, is that I guarantee you that's one of the things they would have picked up. It's a Muppet being voiced by Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
And they would have said, well, the Jedi Master that instructed Obi-Wan Kenobi is a Muppet.
Yeah.
So he learned everything from it would have been.
I think that was probably everyone's initial reaction, I'd imagine, when they first ever saw Empire. They're kind of like, this guy's Yoda. This guy trained Newman. What the hell? But then by the end, you're obviously like, wow, Yoda.
I remember when I saw it, it's the bit because I was young at the time, really young, and you see this really cute little creature that you just think is a side character, but the bit when in his little hut and he goes, you will be, he turns from being this cute little thing, and this is just a puppet, to sinister. Jesus, he's scary.
I always love that moment where he sort of, the performance of the funny Yoda just drops, doesn't it? And like, it's like a penny's just dropped, and he's like, when Luke says Yoda, and he just sort of like makes that little grunty sound that he makes, and it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I think they would probably be petty about something like that. Now. It'd be like, although I don't know, because if you're talking about sequels, I know it's one that you don't like, but the Two Towers to Lord of the Rings is where we first see Gollum, and that a lot of that sort of rode on the fact that Peter Jackson was saying, if you watch the making of, he was terrified because he didn't know if the technology would look any good. And you still look at Gollum today, and Gollum's another thing where the CG think it looks amazing. Because of Andy Serkis' performance as well. 50% of that is that. But then again, it's 50% of Frank Oz as well, isn't it? And it's just I don't know if the story beats would translate that well today. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they would. Everyone likes the dark stuff now, don't they?
Yeah, but the problem with that is you're going off of which you've just learned from our point, is that Star Wars was A New Hope was this real fun film. I mean, you can get away with Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings had a dark tone.
Yeah.
But to go from this big fun space adventure that's all about happiness and all the heroes winning and everything, to taking it into to the space battle at the start, so you got the big battle, and you take it to a personal story of growth between Luke, and then you got the romantic story between Leia and Han.
Yeah.
And it is not the same. It's not. It's completely different to A New Hope. And a lot of people, when they went to go into the cinemas, they want to see the same.
Yeah.
And whereas people were more open-minded. Well, people still are open-minded, but with sequels, you really got to try and.
Yeah.
If you experiment, it's not that good.
It has to be different and the same, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you've got to outdo what you did before, but capture the spirit. I think.
But it's not got the same. It's not even got the. It's
No,
the same universe, but Empire is not the same feel.
No.
It is.
Well, they get kicked in the balls at the start, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, the bad guys win effectively in the second part, don't they? So I think that's what, in a way, that was the best and worst thing about Empire. That I think Lucas kind of wrote himself into a corner by the second one, hadn't he? Where like, oh well, I'm gonna have to just invent another Death Star, so they can win again. You know, like that sort of. I mean, the Return of Jedi's near flawless as well.
Yeah, I love Jedi. Even though it's got those Ewoks,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
there to sell toys. I waited for 6 years just to see bloody little teddy men destroy the Empire.
Why not though? I mean, is the MCU not selling toys as well? Everyone loves that.
Yeah,
you know? It's just,
but that's different.
I mean, you get it with Jar Jar. That was a blatant McDonald's Happy Meal deal, wasn't it?
Jar Jar.
But I think I like the Ewoks though, because they are like a little message as well, aren't they? Like you don't need technology to win. You just need the will to win.
Wasn't that supposed to be George Lucas's way of putting a message about Vietnam in there?
I think the Rebel Alliance were always supposed to be the Viet Cong anyway, weren't they? And the Empire were like Reagan. But I think that was the most explicit one because it was on a forest, wasn't it? And that's another thing about Empire that I really like as well. The set design was quite basic and bland. You know, like the snow planet. There's not really. It's just white everywhere, but it makes for a great battle scene. And then you've got Cloud City. It's just clouds, but it looks fantastic. And you, of course, Lando, introduction of Lando. So
Billy D.
Yeah, did you know when the first trailers for 7 came out and they were all like, oh yeah, the black guys have always been underrepresented in Star Wars. I was always thinking, does no one remember Lando? Like, I mean, there was only one black guy, but like if it's Lando, then
Lando's cool.
Yeah.
I gotta say, in episode 2, Samuel L. Jackson has one of the best lines. This party's over. No one else can say it like he does.
We do disagree on Mace Windu a little bit, don't we?
But again, I like Samuel L. Jackson.
I love the guy, but I just don't think he should have been in Star Wars.
You can have Samuel L. Jackson in anything, I will watch it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't know. Do you think it would have taken the same amount of money as it did at the time?
Empire.
Yeah, because I mean, it didn't. I don't know. It didn't take more than Star Wars, did it? But it definitely. I would say it's probably one of the most lucrative sequels of all time, maybe before The Dark Knight.
It made enough to keep the Lucasfilm afloat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, it was personal loans and stuff, wasn't it? That his own money, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, how does it compare to other great sequels? I mean, something like Aliens. You know, if that was released today, would people
Aliens is more mainstream. Aliens is if you want to get into those films, you watch Aliens first. Alien, then Alien 3.
Yeah, they literally go in order, don't they?
Yeah.
Or here's a more interesting one for you that actually kind of is a what if it was released today litmus test was Blade Runner 2049.
God, that was going to bomb.
Succeeded.
I thought it was.
Financially, it didn't. But I from everyone I know that's seen it that likes the original, they've said, yeah, fantastic, great, like. And they've said what we've said, where it's like the only sequel where you feel like for a long time I'm back in that world perfectly.
But a lot of people, I think, it worked. I mean, it worked perfectly because the people that were watching the film were the people that were watching Blade Runner.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I went to see it, there wasn't anyone under the age of like maybe 25 in there. So it's all people that had seen the original. I know a lot of younger people that like we worked with said, no, I thought Blade Runner was boring. And you know, I do get it, like, because when we first watched it, I think we both said
too young.
It was mismarketed, wasn't it? You know, Han Solo's in it, so we thought, oh, it's going to be like Star Wars, and it's nothing like it.
It's one of these things which, for me, Blade Runner is you got to be a certain age. You cannot
definitely
go in. You got to go, and it's a film that keeps on giving. It is, and 100%. I just think it's perfection. And yeah, when 2049 was announced, it was. 2049 gave service to the fans, not the fanboys, but the fans of Ridley Scott's classic.
The real fans, quote unquote.
So it's, if you're a real fan, you walk out of 2049 thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer, isn't it? Right?
It was Hans Zimmer, yeah.
His score, the sounds.
Sounds exactly like Vangelis.
Yeah.
Vangelis.
It's everything to me in that film. The story was perfect. Yeah. But it's too long.
Yeah, I think you can be like a general, like, oh, I haven't seen the original, I'll give this one a shot. I don't think it would. It's probably one of the only sequels where I would say, no, you better go watch the original.
Yeah. When I say it was too long, when it was over, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It was like, I mean, not the saying the ending was anticlimactic. It wasn't.
No.
But you just wanted you loved being in that universe again, and you really wanted to stay in that universe for a little while longer.
I think as well, like Empire, it benefited from having not the original director as the director. I think sometimes that works a lot better. Do you know, like Lucas didn't direct, obviously, because I think he said about it being like the most stressful experience of his life.
Yeah.
But it was better having him in that executive producer categories, and then giving someone else a chance to direct.
That works, whereas Terminator, whatever the last one was, didn't work.
Yeah.
Because James Cameron seemed to have his paw prints over it. It's like Lolita, which is a good film. It's Robert Rodriguez film, but you can also see it's got James Cameron's paw prints all over it.
Like the whole thing with Poltergeist, isn't it? Is it a Tobe Hooper film or a Spielberg film? You know, I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of the only things I don't really know much about the original trilogy. Whether Lucas interfered with the, I know he did quite badly with Richard Marquand, didn't he? But I assume he didn't with Erdman Kershner because it was his
mentor,
his old teacher, wasn't it? Yeah. So,
but it was always Empire was always going to be the tricky one.
Yeah,
and you need someone you could trust to get the job done. And
I think the problem with if you're talking about trilogies, especially, the second part's always the hardest because it kind of doesn't have. It kind of needs to not have a resolution. Like it's, I mean, every film has. Well, not every film, but you know, they have the basic beginning, middle, end sort of through line. If they don't follow it linearly, at least. But I think with sequels, second parts of trilogies, some of them suffer because they try and conclude it, even though there's a third part coming. I think this is a problem. I love them, and I will always love them. But Back to the Future Part 2, I always feel like that kind of was forced to create that ending with Doc being in the 1800s because they were trying to go for an ending, if that makes sense. I love it, but it's always my weakest. I love the third one.
They wanted to do a western.
They
had the opportunity. Back 2 is I love it because it managed to do something that I've only ever seen in Endgame. Avengers Endgame is where you go back into
and you mess around. Yeah. I think it's probably the first thing to do that, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Successfully.
And I mean,
don't get me wrong, I love it. But if I had to pick the weakest, it's like if I had to pick the weakest from the original trilogy, it'd sadly have to be Jedi. But it's still amazing. They're all still 10 out of 10 films. Yeah. But you do still have one that you think it's the quote unquote weakest, isn't it? Whereas I think Empire's actually the best in terms of my favourite, if not in terms of technical. You know, like the first one's always like A New Hope's always going to be like, well, it's cinema's greatest turning point, really, isn't it? If you're going to go that pompous, but no, I don't know. It's a tricky question thinking about what if things happen now. We did this with Christopher Lee, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like what if he was a young actor now? You know, it's hard to do, and without the hindsight of the original.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But then one thing though, I think they would would have picked up on was the whole Darth Vader being Anakin Skywalker when Obi-Wan Kenobi said he betrayed and murdered your father. I don't think that. Whereas the psychology behind it is children thought he was lying.
Yes.
Because
there's no
Darth Vader, the bad guy can't be the good guy's dad.
Yeah.
Adults knew he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
So then you've got to wait 3 years.
Yeah, to see the end.
And you've also got to wait 3 years to find out who the other was. And people are going to all make the fanboy, which would have led into Jedi.
Yeah.
Because because of the internet and everybody having opinions, everything that's being very vocal about it. With Leia being Luke's twin sister, it would have been rogue because. Ew, that
but I mean, like, there's more of a joke now, isn't it, rather than a point of contention. We all joke about the kiss, don't we? You know, and it actually happens in this film.
But it and in and you got all that when said they could get Chewie back, they took all the expanded universe and said it's just another alternative or whatever. It's nothing. It's not part of the canon now. So I wasted all those years reading all this stuff just for this. It's no.
Yeah.
It's like thinking, did you enjoy reading the stuff? Yes. Did you enjoy all the stuff that you did in the interim?
So what's the problem?
So but no, it's not right because it's been established as canon.
Yeah,
and
this idea of canon is a bit of a sort of sticking point, isn't it, in fandom now? Because like you've basically got a set of people, i.e. Disney, saying, well, this all happened, but this lot didn't, you know, and like we've mentioned before, haven't we, in our ambiguity one, where there's not a lot of films nowadays where you do go, that's made me think.
Yeah. What
could be happening after the film ends? Yeah. Like it's all it's finished now. Like we told you what happened. You don't need to go and that's what happened. You know, I does my head in when directors do it in interviews as well. No, this happened, not that. Yeah. And, you know, and you think, well, dick, like.
It's with music. If you listen to a song, and your interpretation of the song can be completely different to the writers.
Yeah.
And the band members in groups, you know, they have what they think the song means, but the writer had this set, and no one's opinion
is wrong.
Yeah, because if that's what it means to you, and with film, you can literally just you can focus on one thing, and it might be just insignificant, but it's something you see and you're like, wow, that's my mind is blown because of that. And the director might not have seen it, but if you get shot down, it's like I started watching the director's cut of Donnie Darko.
Oh,
and it was all explained out. I love Donnie Darko.
I don't like the director's cut.
So I switched it off, never finished watching it because I don't like having things explained.
It isn't. If you listen to the audio commentary, though, it's quite interesting because Richard Kelly says about that he didn't like making the director's cut, but they requested a cut where everything was explained for the home market, basically. And he was saying like, this is stuff I cut for a reason. It's not my director's cut. And I always feel quite bad for directors that have to do, well, you know, like Alien 3, the assembly cut, you know, like, it's things like that, like where the film they made, the studio goes, it did alright, but if you do this for the home video, that would be better.
I actually like I've actually watched the assembly cut.
It's not bad. I
enjoy it.
To be honest, I actually prefer all the normal versions of the Alien films. I don't like the special edition of Aliens. I think it runs far too long. I mean, like, the things with the automated guns are cool, but I always think, like, the reason they're not in film is because I like to think it's because a lot of the time the director has went, it doesn't work, but I'll put them on so you can see what they look like. 2
films, Doctor Sleep, which they released the extended cut. They did the director's cut, and there's actually at the end of the credits the director thanking Warner Brothers for letting him do the director's cut.
All right.
And
I've seen the original version, not the director's cut.
It's as long as it is, but I wanted because I really love Doctor Sleep. I think it's just a superb film.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I really wanted, as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, I was like, HMV had the director's cut. I loved it so much. I went over to my nearest HMV just so that I could pick up the director's cut of Doctor Sleep, and I think, and this is the same with The Martian. because I only know the
I've never
extended
seen
cut.
the original cut.
I saw the theatrical at the cinema, but with a film that's cut down like The Martian and like Doctor Sleep, to actually the director's cuts feel fluid. You should not be able to tell what's been added in.
I always think the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings are really good because they're not just scenes cut out added in. Like Peter Jackson re-edited the films again so they have context. You can tell so badly when it's been plonked in the middle of two scenes, can't you? And it makes me just think, this isn't a director's cut. It's just deleted scenes stuck back in the film without any work put in. And that's an interesting segue actually, because Star Wars is famous for having alternate cuts, isn't it?
Yes.
So in fact, it's probably the most famous series for having them. So do you think in a few years there'll be special editions of not prequels, the sequel trilogy, or is that I was thinking the other day about this. Like, is that just a phenomenon that the original trilogy had that wouldn't work with the other two because he had the technology when he made those two? Oh, prequels.
I think we've got the cuts of the prequels and the sequels. I think we've got the cuts But
I think the special editions were only made because he was kind of saying, I couldn't do this originally, so I'm doing it now, kind of thing. Whereas you can do that now, so there's no point, is there really? Yeah, so
although
answer my own question there, really.
Although we've done that, and the one thing that we want, and this is just more for me, it's to do with I want to see the film I went to the cinema to see.
The original cuts, I do not know why they dragged their heels on this. Like, it would cost. They own Fox now. That was the only hindrance to all of that.
They have clean prints. They cleaned all the prints out. It's not that hard.
Fans have cleaned the prints out.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. And I think they deliberately muck up the print sometimes. Just to say, well, you want another cut? Oh, here you go. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Like, we put the original cuts on the DVD with the worst aspect ratio possible.
Yeah, and they think they were the ones that before they cleaned them.
Yeah.
And it's like, only for one limited time. So if you don't get it now,
you're fucked.
Yeah.
It's like Disney, isn't it, where they chuck stuff back in the vault.
Yeah.
It's ironic, isn't it? They bought it, but I'd still watch them no matter how they looked, the original cuts. But I'd love to see like a 4K crisp Blu-ray version, like with new special features, like maybe like a retrospective, some new commentaries by podcasters.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Or people that aren't involved with Lucasfilm,
Yeah. Although, a gratuitous plug, if you want to hear a good podcast where we actually dissect Phantom Menace,
yes,
which is good, and we're doing the rest of them eventually.
We will be doing them, and not in order either,
no.
Just to mix it up a bit, sort
of. Which goes to what I'm looking forward to doing is Empire Strikes Back. Not Empire Strikes Back. Is Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah, but I think we said there, didn't we? I think that we'll leave the originals till last because they're the hardest to say anything about, if that makes sense.
We tried it. We tried doing we have things. If you're new to the podcast, we do a little thing called Franchise Wars, and it's the day which we changed our format.
Yeah.
In mid podcast.
Yeah, mid podcast.
Because I was arguing Empire. Which was I arguing?
Yeah, I think you had.
What was
you had Empire.
I had Empire. You had
Star
New
Wars,
Hope.
yeah.
Because we were the thing was we were arguing. We had our film, and we had to basically tear a new one into the other one. Why I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
But we found we couldn't.
No.
And that's where we changed to the format of Franchise Wars.
Yeah.
It's where we just discuss.
We were never that
films.
sort of antagonistic even.
No.
I mean, the first one was Alien versus Aliens.
Yeah.
And like there was. We weren't really doing like it. Kind of sounded like the format was a bit like what people do on the internet now.
Yeah.
I think that's why we thought it's probably better if we just say the merits and bad things of each film instead of.
The thing is, if you love something, you really it was hard actually. It's like picking if you've got children. It's like saying I prefer that one to that one.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No, you can't. No.
You can't do that because
even though subconsciously you might sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think most parents would admit that they love one parent.
No.
One kid over another, would they?
No.
Although we do it with the trilogy with films like this, don't we? Like we love them all equally, but this one's a bit better.
but it's all to do with which goes on to these people that say that they're fans, but they do nothing but slate them.
Yeah.
I remember.
So why watch things? I always remember that thing you said about Kevin Smith, was it? Where he said, "Why would I want to talk about something I don't like?"
Yeah, I've read an interview where someone said, "Why you only say nice, good things about the films that you review? Why would I waste my time?"
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking.
Yeah.
I know as a for film criticism that I do, you can't always defend it.
No.
If a film's bad, at least, or you think is bad, at least say why you think it is.
Yeah.
My argument is when someone comes to me and says it's shit, I'm like going, you a filmmaker? Nobody goes out the way to make a shit film or rubbish film. Every decision has been made. Nobody studio goes, hey, here's a load of money, make a rubbish film.
Yeah, even The Room, like that. It baffles me that films like that are, considered awful, and yet there's like massive cult followings for them, and like they show them in cinemas across the country every week, and it's just like that proves what you just said there. Like no one sets out to make a bad film, do they? It might end up bad because of interference, or people don't like it, or word of mouth is bad. I don't know, but yeah, I believe that as well.
I actually saw a watch last year, Plan 9 from Outer Space, expecting this to be this big pile of bollocks, pardon my language, and it was good. I enjoyed it.
You've seen much worse films, haven't you?
And which goes on to the whole you said about word of mouth.
Yeah.
Which killed Solo. Which killed Solo.
Yeah.
And that's
that major pissed me off.
Yeah. So people, and this is one of the things, like if Empire Strikes Back was being released today, and the minority had came out and said, "Oh, we don't like it because of this," they'd have told everybody else, and then you get people going, "Well,
yeah,
I don't know if I really want to pay good money to see the film." Because
and for a fact the twist would have been spoiled.
Yes, because we know people that do shit like that.
Yeah, we work with them.
Yeah, you want to know how Empire Strikes Back ends?
No, that's like.
Well,
I'll tell you anyway. Yeah,
I'll tell you anyway.
Yeah.
People they do it without even. I remember you just finished watching Watchmen, the TV series.
Yeah.
Which I.
Yes, yeah.
And I said to you, I'm not going to speak to you about it until you've watched Watchmen because I don't want.
Yeah, I'm sure you said something like episode whatever was brilliant, but I won't tell you why. And I was like, "Cool, it's intriguing."
No, I think that might have been staged.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Episodes 3 and 6.
I'm sure you said, the episode that's just been on was fantastic, but it might have been when it first came out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, like, I always remember that. Isn't there a Simpsons episode where he comes out and he's like, "What? So he's just dead? No way!" And they're all like, "Oh, dude!" in the queue. I mean, that's the only way you could have spoiled people back then, really, isn't it? I'd love for a pure no internet time with films. No, I mean, I envy you so much. That must have been great having those 3 years with maybe magazines and stuff, maybe, but.
But it took months for all the information to come out.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And that's what I always say. I always like to go into if it's movies that I have a quote relationship with, like your Marvels, your Pirates of the Caribbean, your Star Wars. I like to go into them clean. I don't like it. It annoys me when people come up to me and say, "Do you want to hear? Have you heard this? Or do you want to hear this? Do you want to know?" How many times do I have to tell you?
I don't care.
I want to go into this film. It's like getting your Christmas presents early. You don't really want to see your Christmas presents until Christmas.
In front of you. Yeah.
Here it is. But it's especially around the whole geeks that are the keyboard warriors. They want I suppose it's psychological. I suppose you could argue that it's their way of social acceptance because especially in today's climate, films. A lot of people are watching because you can't do anything really much. You can't really do much.
Yeah.
So film as a commodity is. People are watching lots of films, and if it's a new thing, they want to tell you. And prior to lockdown and all COVID and everything, the people go to the cinema, see an early screening, just so that they can tell the world about it, because that way, in their eyes, they were like all powerful. They're popular because they can talk about something that everybody else is talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, when we went to see episode 9, and then you went with your dad in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I went with my fiance to different screens, of course. And I had to keep my mouth, even though because we went to midnight screening of 9.
Yeah.
And 8, and we had to keep our mouth shut and not say anything because we didn't want to ruin it. We wanted to sit there in the cinema.
And Rogue One, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that wasn't Midnight, was it?
No, Rogue One was one that we did 8. We did 8, 9.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole. It's just the whole. And with Endgame, because I've got real bad emotional investment in films, and
oh yeah, same, yeah.
And I couldn't talk after after 9 came out. I was really moved me, and my fiance finds it amusing, and during Endgame, the ending of Endgame, and there's me sitting there watching it, and all I can hear is my fiance. I think, do you want some tissues? But nowadays, for a lot of people, it's like, yes, I've seen this film. I'm now gonna.
Yeah, I need to tell everyone about it. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I think that would definitely spoil it today, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
if it was released today.
Because it's like it's a badge of honor.
Yeah,
it is. What about we still don't see the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah,
hardly. It's a hologram.
Yeah, it wasn't even Ian McDermott originally, was it?
Yeah,
sorry,
he came in on Jedi.
Yeah,
the Jedi.
Although that is, I must admit, that's one of the changes I do like.
He's
where
brilliant.
it's him, and you just think, oh yes.
Another one, Boba Fett, one that was the highlight of the holiday special, and the toy, the figures prior to release, he's built up to be this big who's barely in it.
Yeah, but it happened with Boba Fett, like you just said, and yet when it happened with Snoke, everyone sort of, well, there's no backstory for him, and like that's rubbish because you just haven't developed him as a character. I like Boba Fett. Didn't tell you anything about him, until the prequels.
Yeah.
He could have been anyone under that mask. Yeah, I was kind of a little bit disappointed when it turned out he was a clone. But
I like it. I like it.
I mean, Daniel Logan's great in that, but I just think all this stuff's already happened. The complaints, but because it was the original trilogy, it's kind of held up as like the Holy Grail, isn't it? Of film. So you can't say anything bad about it. But the stuff's all there. We said the Ewoks as well. Like, there's your original product placement.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna make these aliens to sell toys because they're supposed to be Wookiees originally.
They were. The Chewbacca because they wanted the original Kashyyyk to be.
Yeah. The world. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
And but because Chewbacca became too technologically advanced.
Too many Chewies.
Yeah. Yeah. So they needed to get it back down to. Because Chewie was supposed to be in the third act. Yeah. So
not the original first two. Yeah.
So a Wookiee.
Yeah.
Put him as a co-pilot because he would have wanted a Wookiee in his film, and it works.
Yeah. If you read the original, like the very first draft of Star Wars, the one that would have failed.
Yeah.
Which has also been, you can read the comic adaptation of it, which is quite good. It's just called The Star Wars. The Wookiees are the ones who bomb the Death Star at the end, not the Rebels. Like, they're obviously working for the Rebels, but they're the ones that have the Y-wings, and Luke goes with them. And it's just weird, a lot of the original script. Like, it's so Flash Gordon, because obviously he did want to make that, didn't he? But yeah, I'm glad that didn't get made. But I would like to see that made today as a sort of what if. I think that would be interesting, because we've yet to do this as well, about what if Star Wars had failed. What if it had become this sort of like this cult Blu-ray 40th anniversary release now, like Flash Gordon's just had.
That is a good what if. We'll have to do, because I know.
Yeah, just
to touch on it,
like how different would films be?
How different would. I grew up. That was my, because it's kind of funny because my fiance is the Jurassic Park generation.
Yeah. I suppose I am as well, really.
Because that came out in '93. Yeah. And it's. I mean, it's. To me, Star Wars. It was Star Wars. So that is, as a child, that was a major part of my life, and that's the one. That's my influence. Is my love of films. Yeah. And to science, people that do science and everything, Star Trek.
Yeah.
And then, but to your creative types, it leans towards Star Wars. Yeah. Because that's why I don't do the whole Star Wars versus Star Trek BS.
Because it's not the same. Yeah, there's loads of videos online, even from YouTube channels that I watch, that say like, why Star Trek is better than Star Wars, or why Star Wars is better. And I just think, well, you can't really compare the two. I mean, you can in terms of their impact, but you can't. They're not the same genre.
No.
It'd be like comparing 50 Shades and I don't know, like
9.5 weeks.
Yeah, or 50 Shades and Jaws. Like they're not. You can't do that because one's about a fucking shark and the other's about a fucking abusive arsehole.
Yeah. I did.
So like, how do you compare something that's totally? I mean, I get that they're in space.
Both are predators.
Yeah, true.
Because the shark preys on Amity Island.
Yeah,
and
Christian Grey preys on women.
Yeah. So technically,
yeah, all right, you busted my argument there. No, but I mean, like,
coming soon to the High Ground podcast.
Yeah, that'd be a weird one.
That'd be a good one.
Like just because they're in space, like you can't just. That's not a comparison.
But it's in space.
Yeah, in capital letters.
Yes, we have to do it because it's in space.
So is Jaws similar to Aquaman then? In that regard.
Technically, I could argue that Bruce is the shark. If you listen to this, you already know that. Bruce is the hero in Jaws, who's being persecuted for being different.
Yeah. And
people are invading his space.
Oh, see, Jaws is one of those films where you can, online, there's an infinite number of readings. Like, the shark is this. The shark is like Oedipus, or it's like, I've even, when I was at university, someone did a paper about Jaws saying, because we had a 40th anniversary, like symposium on Jaws, and someone did a paper about how the shark is repressed homosexuality. And I just think, like, how did you get that from that? But that must be like how good Jaws is. That it's like the Dead films as well, isn't it? Like George Romero said many times. I didn't even have that in mind when I thought of it, but if you think that, then that's fine.
If you haven't seen it, and bear in mind, if you think you know Night of the Living Dead, you don't. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
And that goes for even like me when I first watched it, because I didn't watch it till I was like a lot older. And I thought it was like, no, here we go, this is like B-movie crap. It's like the film that made Dawn of the Dead better. Like, and it's just totally incredibly like better than you think it's going to be.
It's groundbreaking. It's not just as and this goes back to the whole thing that really annoys me is that not as a horror film or as a zombie film, but as a piece of work, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, like I said, I didn't watch it till last year because I thought I knew the story. It's one of those ones where
it's like Frankenstein. You think you know everything.
Then you watch it, and it's but that reading of Jaws.
I can't remember the specifics, but there's so many things about the shark meaning this or that. Just like there's so many things where the zombie means this or that, and just like there's so many things where Darth Vader means this or that. Back onto the subject.
I think we said this was going to be about Empire Strikes Back, but I think we were talking about Empire Strikes Back is the starting point to.
Yeah, I mean, like you could do this for anything, couldn't you? Like, what if Jaws was released now, or what if Night of the Living Dead was released now? It's just. They sort of have to be the first ones, really, don't they? Like, this was the first good, brilliant, amazing sequel, apart from maybe Godfather 2. But even at the time, there wasn't many sequels, was there? No. Only in horror, really.
They did the Apes movies, but that was diminishing. But the Apes movies were making a small amount, and it was diminished returns.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I think wasn't Godfather the first one where the people were like, "Wow, a sequel that's better maybe than the original," sort of. Or on level with.
I mean, I see what Future World. It was
Yeah.
But that was 1976.
Yeah, so it's a bit later, isn't it?
But that wasn't taking in Star Wars money. It was not a cultural phenomenon like Star Wars was.
No science fiction really did before. I mean, probably the most profitable films were 2001 and Pop Planet of the Apes. So they made about maybe $20, $30 million, and that was like wow, that's quite a lot of money.
That's why they had to rein in Star Wars at about 10 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it ended up at 13.
Yeah.
Like final, but when you think, is it technically the most lucrative film of all time because of its budget? I think Blair Witch is actually. Yeah. But like the same sort of thing, like you think it was made for 13 and it made. I can't even. When it first came out, I think it was like 400 million or something. That was unheard of.
Let's look at all the money it's took in through toy sales.
Yeah, it's took in
and
more
soundtracks.
money through that,
Yeah,
hasn't it?
and it set up. It's set up the summer. Well, Jaws created the summer blockbuster again.
Yeah, yeah.
But that took it boom. I mean, that's why May is
really fun now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The big films.
I mean, that's not to take. I do not want to detract from Jaws, because I think Jaws is a perfect movie as well for me.
I think that's your lead in though, isn't it?
Yeah.
To, like you say, before that, you didn't really have summer blockbusters, did you? And
because people go to the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
And they go on holiday, so you can't make money.
Day and all that in America, isn't it? And Memorial Day and things like that. So, I mean, it's gone back to sort of. I think Lord of the Rings started the whole thing with Christmas again, didn't it? With like the blockbusters at Christmas.
And Harry Potter.
Yeah, and then the new Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, because Disney own all the other stuff that they can it's like a jigsaw puzzle with them. They've got to have these released here, got to have these released there.
Yeah, they tend to have like 2 Marvels a year usually, isn't it? And then they're Disney films.
Then you got
the
Pixar,
in the summer, aren't they?
Then the live action.
Yeah,
it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, like I said.
No, like what are they gonna buy next?
That would be an interest. Yeah.
Warner Brothers.
Well,
I don't know. I think that'd be weird, wouldn't it?
If they own everything, it'll have a bit of complacency.
Kind of get boring, wouldn't it? Yeah. It'd just all be Disney, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think Warner has got enough because of the DC Comics. They've got enough to actually keep them afloat and avoid a buyout.
Well, they've got Harry Potter as well.
Yeah. So. And hopefully that'll get back on track soon, because I do like my Harry Potter.
I've totally forgot about Fantastic Beasts now. I still haven't seen Crimes of Grindelwald, but I kind of feel like that's an interesting one as well. Like, what if Harry Potter was released now? Like, are we coming out of Potter fever now, or is it still? I don't know. I know J.K. Rowling's a bit unpopular at the moment, isn't she? But the franchise isn't, as far as I know.
Crimes of Grindelwald is absolutely. It's not the film I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to boycott you now, Warner Bros. Why would you make a film that I actually really enjoy?
Go back and reshoot it.
Yeah, I want it all changed. I'm not, because you haven't seen it. I'm not going to spoil it. I walked out of Crimes of Grindelwald going, wow.
Oh, really?
I really enjoyed Crimes of Grindelwald.
I never really sort of got on board with Fantastic Beasts.
Different.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't. I mean, it wasn't like everyone else I knew was like, "Oh my God, Fantastic Beasts is out! Let's go see it." And I thought, all right, I'll go see it, but it didn't have the same sort of. I don't know, like when you went to see Harry Potter, you were kind of like, "Oh, it's Harry Potter." Whether you liked it or not, it was the Star Wars of the age, wasn't it?
I've got a bit of rose-tinted glasses with Fantastic Beasts before it even came out, because when I was at work, they filmed in Leavesden, and I am pretty certain that they have external sets. You can you can still see the tops of them, and I'm pretty certain very certain that one of the external sets was right next door to the studio.
Oh right.
So
well, it would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So
still got the.
I actually, because I literally was asking everybody there, nobody would give me a straight answer. So it's like because I don't from my background at university, you never give the answer away, because people will tell you just so you piss off. So rather than say I had in my head what I thought they were filming, so I was asking everybody what they were filming. Like, what are they filming this? I see you got an external set over there. What are you filming? Oh, we don't know. Like, you know. And I kind of put 2 and 2 together, because I knew it, and there's nothing and then when the film came out, I was like, yeah, I was right. Yeah. And it was like, because and I can even point it out where I was, because up to a year ago, you can actually still, because it's one of these usable sets.
Yeah.
You can still see they put stuff over it, but you can still. It's just like a facade. But
I think Leavesden is another sort of reason that Harry Potter's still quite popular, isn't it? Because you can go and you can actually visit where it was made, like stuff they used. There's Star Wars still doesn't have anything like that, apart from, I mean,
exhibitions,
Disney World now maybe, but that's a ride and everything, isn't it? It's themed around that. Whereas, yeah, I'd love like Star Wars. You know, I always call the Warner Brothers experience the Harry Potter world.
It is.
I don't know why. It's just, but yeah, I think Star Wars still lacks something like that. A centralized sort of place where you can go in every country and go, oh, these are all the props, these are all the sets. You know,
all they have to do is get some space near Elstree. That would be. It would get people in.
Of course it would, yeah.
I mean, it's been 25 years since I went to Elstree. So I just wanted to stand outside where they filmed it.
Yeah.
And if you could actually go into one of the sound stations or do tours, it would make a fortune.
Oh, of course they would, yeah. I mean, there's James Bond stuff's all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you get that. There was one they did in the Imperial War Museum about James Bond, and like that was even quite cool because it was about like the history of espionage, but like how it's fictionalized as well. So they even moved James Bond into like an actual history museum.
Nice.
You know,
and they had the books at Bletchley Park.
Exactly. Yeah.
See,
after Imitation Game, was it? Like it was after that came out.
Yeah, it was long after that because I actually saw Imitation Game before I went to Bletchley, which if you're in the UK and it's near Milton Keynes, Bletchley Park is fantastic. But I remember I said to you before, about 3-4 years ago when I went to London, went past St Paul's, and I was walking and I saw the London College of Arms.
Oh yeah.
And I'm literally going, yes, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Yeah, because of Her Majesty's Secret Service, which we talk about in another podcast. And we do need something like that.
Yeah, yeah. The Star Wars kind of, I think it always feels a bit facile on the surface, where it's all toys and books and games and stuff like that. Whereas there's no real sort of like place where you can look at the heritage of it. You know, like a Star Wars museum would be great.
I know they've done exhibitions, and I've been to a few, but it's not the same as being able to.
Yeah, like it does. Like I mean, it'd probably end up being in like California or something, wouldn't it? Or like in Modesto, maybe.
We should have either Elstree or even a bit of Leavesden for episode 1.
Yeah, for us.
Yeah,
it definitely
it would work because
Pinewood is now the home of it, isn't it? So, is it?
Yeah, it's Pinewood. Yeah. But if you had someone in the UK, because UK's got such a great history, especially in its connections with Star Wars. I mean, we went to that exhibition in Leicester, which was dealing with Palatoys.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
I liked it because I was to show you around my old cinemas afterwards where I used to go.
Yeah.
Something around. Oh.
Well, yeah. Didn't they use all British crews basically?
Yeah.
The productions were British, weren't they? Essentially. Yeah, I always forget about that actually. You always assume like it's all American, don't you? But even a lot of the actors in the sequel trilogy are British, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like the main actors. Yeah.
We have great talent.
We do have good talent. Yeah. Don't dismiss us because we're a little island.
We have James Bond.
As shit as our leaders are.
Yeah. That's subject for another podcast, Richard. That is definitely, because I know that is so divisive at the moment.
Yeah.
Isn't I will be here all day and I don't want to get political because it's really...
No, we'll end up in the Senate all day.
Yes.
Emergency powers to the Chancellor.
That was the... If you're thinking about doing your own podcast, if you try and do something political, if you try to do something like Phantom Menace in today's climate...
Yeah.
And you're trying to avoid politics, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's like, don't bring you... Because people's political views can turn people off a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've just rewatched V for Vendetta again recently, and I just thought, wow, that's America.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
United States of America.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Oh, God. And that's Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
The original Watchmen comic books, and...
you'd think he was on something, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's... I think I can safely say we'll do V for Vendetta in November.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because the Guy Fawkes.
Oh, yeah, November 5th, yeah.
And that's a film in itself. But I got me. I do like the Watchmen. I like the comic book, and I also like the movie. So, and yeah, I so, but
yeah. So, I think we've exhausted that subject, haven't we? Like, what do you think then? What about it being released today? Sum up.
I think that you summed it up perfectly at the start when you said about episode 8, and I think that the Keyboard Warriors would be the ones that would ruin it for everybody else. That would might have changed the direction of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because I think that at the end of the day, George Lucas was plowing his own money into it, and he had to. He couldn't want to go bankrupt.
No.
And I don't think he'd necessarily change the story or his vision, but he would have done little things to make people go back in the cinema. But I think
tweaks.
I think that they would have been. The minority would have made it bad for the majority because, as you know, Solo. Because the amount of people that we had conversations with. Oh, you want to see Solo? No, I didn't like Episode 8.
What's that got to do with? Yeah.
But no, I'm not going to see. I didn't like Episode 8. So you got to go see Episode. No, I didn't like Episode 8.
Yeah, it's.
Are you a Star Wars fan? I'm a Star Wars fan. So why?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
So I think that if Empire had been released today, the film fans and the Star Wars fans, the real Star Wars fans, would have loved it.
Yeah.
Because it would have been. It's like the Harry Potter films grow from. If you're young and you watch them, and you grow up with them.
Yeah, I did.
And I think, and you grow with Star Wars. I grew with Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it's progression of life, but it's the people that are sitting in the basements that don't grow because when they're 12 years old and when they're 45, 46, 50, 60, whoever old they are, they're still consumed by themselves and their opinion, whereas nobody else's opinion that matters, and it's those that they've not experienced life in any way that are doing this, and they would have ruined it for everybody else. I think that it would have. I think that to some people, Empire Strikes Back would have been, to like us, just a great piece of art, but to others it would be like, you ruined my childhood.
Not what I wanted. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it'd just be like the ending of Game of Thrones. It's just. It seems like everyone hates it, and there's not one single person that likes it at all. And that's just not true. Like, all they do is tell us about the negative things now, and I think that happened again.
But that sells.
Yeah.
You look at that. I'm not mentioning names because it winds me up, and I've only watched it a few times. When you see these things on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And you've got these. When we podcast, we actually sit. We look at each other, and everything. But when you see these people just all sitting around looking at a camera, and they're either, and then they're telling you how they don't like something, and there's an obvious ringleader in there. He's the boss, and everybody else is, it's no democracy there, and yet they're surrounded by toys and crap from the films, and they're dressed up as character. They're dressed up.
Yeah.
And you're like, why would you waste your money?
It's like there's just so many videos on YouTube about why this sucks, why this owns this, and you just think, but that's a definitive way of saying something. Like, so that basically means you're saying that's how it is, not like reasons why this is good and bad. If you're just going in and saying why something's rubbish, or why, or oppositely as well, if you're just going in and saying, oh, it's perfect, there's nothing wrong with this, like, it doesn't help criticism, because you can't move forward in looking at anything new if you're just going to stick to the same old rote things that everyone else says.
I was going to say something, I didn't think the trailer for there's a film called the film Birds of Prey. Didn't.
I still haven't seen that.
The trailer didn't impress me.
No.
I wasn't a fan of Suicide Squad.
No, not.
I'd heard so many people saying how bad the film was. Kind of like went out, and I watched the animated series, and I was staring at this Blu-ray for so long in shock, going, it's not Kate Kawako, it's Harley Quinn, and I like Margot Robbie, I think she's brilliant, but I can't justify it. And then you just go, I've got to watch this film. I got to see if it's as bad as everybody else is saying it is. I watched it, and then I said to my fiance, we were laughing our eyes out. I was like, I wish we went to the cinema to watch this film.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite DC films, it is. So I kind of wish I'd given it the cinema shot. So I love Birds of Prey, so don't listen to what people say.
No. Same with Solo as well. Well, I didn't really see anything offensively wrong with it.
And the other people that came up to us telling us how good it was. It was
it was actually quite. My fiance's stepdad kind of went, "Oh no, that looks rubbish from the trailers." Didn't go see it, and then he watched it on TV, and he's like, "I actually really enjoyed it." And I was like, "See, don't like." I think nowadays, apart from maybe episode 9, trailers are rubbish.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And Star Wars have done good trailers, I must admit, with their
Episode 9 was
that's fantastic.
my favourite trailer.
And Marvel aren't great at trailers. I've always thought they're not great at trailers.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, see, I didn't like, and well, I mean, recently as well, Black Widow doesn't
impress me.
Doesn't look.
I'm going to see it though.
Yeah,
I've got a full.
But the trailer's not. I mean, look how you can be duped the other way with trailers though. With Superman Returns.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the only action sequence, right? Okay.
Yeah, you can put all the good stuff in the trailer. Bill and Ted's trailer looked good.
Yeah,
I sat through the film and I was like, this is just a feel-good movie of the year.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've still not seen any of them actually, so I will need to sort that out. Need to sort my life out. Good man.
I have them. Not that I wasn't watching them. You know, I mean, it's a trailer can, it can make or break.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Episode 9, I was sold on episode 9 trailer right from the.
I mean, do you remember the trailer for this, or is this too?
I was way too young for that. I've watched them multiple times since.
Yeah, I mean, trailers are different then, weren't they? They were kind of like just to get you in to see the film, weren't they? I mean, the Bond trailers, they just show you the whole film.
Bond trailers are good. The Bond trailers know how to cut a good trailer.
It's
Bond knows
just,
how to
you
cut
think
a good
like,
trailer.
like even anything from like the 70s and 80s, that they basically just show you so much of the film.
Yeah.
You think, how the hell would that even be allowed now? Like,
yeah, you had 2 screens, 3 screens tops.
Yeah, not.
So you had limited things, and you had to get everyone in to sit and see the films. But
Yeah.
cinema was better back in the day.
Yeah, I even remember it being better. It's just a sort of juggernaut business model now, isn't it? I mean, I get that it needs to make money to continue, but it doesn't. I don't know. It seems more about getting you to buy the hot dog combos and shit like that now.
I remember we before lockdown, last film we saw together was Parasite.
Yeah.
You were the youngest person in there, and it was good.
It was good.
Felt,
yeah.
It felt
it's nice
good.
to see. I mean, me and my fiance as well. We went to see Downton Abbey, the film as well, and we were probably the youngest people in there. And it was nice. There was no one on their phone. There was just older people enjoying it, and like I kind of felt like, do you know what? I'd rather have older people in here than people my own age, because it just irritate me.
I completely agree. But I mean, we saw Parasite because we got the Oscar. We wanted to see what the whole thing was about, but we didn't know nothing about it.
No.
I miss the days.
Reward.
Of going in, seeing something which you don't know anything about, and just get blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that. I always every year I always say I always have a film, and this year I haven't really, because Roy has gone away. I'll find a film that I think looks good, and it has to live up to my expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, the big one for me was Chef, and I still maintain it's my all-time favorite. Even though it's only came out in 2014, so it makes it 6 years old. Still, it's one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
And
you introduced me to that.
I love that film so much. But I went to see it on the basis that it looks different.
Yeah.
Blinded by the Light. All I knew it was about was a kid that was inspired by Bruce Springsteen in the 80s. Then I found out it was set in Luton, and I was like, yes! Just great films. I miss that sort of thing.
Different stuff. I mean, probably like there's not many films now that you think, wow, where you sort of watch it and you feel equal parts impressed and shocked at the same time, where you're kind of like, wow, I did not expect things like that to happen. What's happening after that film?
Yeah.
You don't get that very often.
I like the adrenaline rush you get when you come out. I mean, I've seen something that you can now claim on as yours.
Yeah.
I think then you tell everybody about it. It's not like, I mean, it's a different feeling to Star Wars.
Yeah, that's kind of like a...
Because you have Star Wars is a blockbuster. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a shared sort of thing. But when you find something, then you share it. It's like, well, it's what we do when we do post podcast.
Yeah.
Is when we share films that we want each other to watch.
Yeah.
And I love doing that. That's brilliant. We got off subject again when we were ramping up.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, so there we go. I hope you've liked this. I define it more of an ad-lib podcast.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Where you think, what if something was released today? Would it be different? Or so I don't know. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, comments and I'm Stevie W.
And Callum.